Okay, so I'm going to present today the two-factor authentication via TOTP. So it's a very specific type of two-factor authentication. Glenn might interject if I miss anything. So what is authentication? Just a little bit background. I know most of you know anyway, but just a little reminder. So authentication is the process of verifying that a user is who he claims he is or they are. So the usage of authentication is to restrict access to certain resources. And the user must submit or present a factor or a set of authentication factors for the process to go on. Authentication factors might be something you know, like a password, something you have, like a card or an authenticator app, something you are, like biometric data. So the password is only a single factor. When we use any additional factors, or not necessarily the password, but more than one factor, we're talking about multiple factor authentication, MFA. Two and more actually is multi-factor authentication. So what I will be presenting today is a two-factor authentication via TOTP, time-based one-time password. There are other factors actually. We have the SMS text. Basically, you get like a one-time password via SMS or via a phone call. You've seen probably the hardware that provides you with tokens, like one-time password. The push notifications, like if you're trying to log into Google, you get a notification on your YouTube app on their phone. We have also the dynamic passcode, or another dynamic passcode via TOTP. So in VTScada, you know, we support several authentication methods. We have the password, of course. We have the alternate ID. Those who use it or who used it before, they know it's mainly for hacking via emails. That's all, Glenn, we use it for. We have the OpenID Connect. This is a multi-factor method also. We support smart cards too. Okay, again, so what we are gonna bring for you is the TOTP, time-based one-time password. I'm gonna demo what we have so far, but please know it's a work in progress. So some things might change later. I can start demoing. So here I already have a user that registered. What I mean registered, it means they registered with an authenticator app. It's user R. So username, password. This is the old sign-in, right, up to here, other than the card stuff. But after the TOTP, once you get here, I forgot the password. So once you enter the password, you'd be challenged with the one-time password. And that's produced via time-based OTP, actually. It should have that because I registered my authenticator. And 650065. And that's the 6-digit OTP. Most of us are used to, like with the authenticators. Oops. So just a little background also on the algorithm. It's simple algorithm, not just like simple presentation of that. So basically we have what we call the prover, and that would be like your authenticator app. And we have the verifier, which is VTScada. So basically if VTScada and the authenticator, they know the same key, okay? And they have the same perception of time, the current time, then they can build a password made of the current time and the key, the common key. And they pass that through a hash function, and it has, of course, to be the same hash function. So the result of that would be a one-time password. So again, if both of them, they have same time, same key, and same hash function, the result must be the same. Okay, and that would be the OTP, the one-time password. Okay. So talking about the time having the same perception of time, you can say, well, if they don't have the same perception of time, then there is a problem, right? It's true TOTP suffers from this. The clocks must be synchronized between the prover and the verifier. So between the authentication app and VTScada. Okay. Now for air-gapped systems, in order to provide synchronization, you cannot access the internet, right? So you need something like a GPS-based time synchronization. Yeah.
Sorry, I forgot to bring it.
Yeah, Glenn had one actually. He was gonna present it, but it's fine. I could have said this is one. Yeah. And by the way, they don't have to be like perfectly synchronized. It depends on the interval over which we do calculation. So a few seconds, it's not gonna be a big problem, but more than that, it will, or more than the interval actually, it will be a problem. So you are familiar with authenticators anyway. Some of them, they allow exporting the secret, but not Microsoft Authenticator or Google Authenticator. I couldn't find the secret. By the way, VTScada also, the secret will be shared in a readable form, but once it's shared, that's it. It's gone. It disappears. It's encrypted. You cannot get to it. Okay? So you have one chance actually to get the secret. So yeah, of course, the OTP will increase security, but it suffers from few things. We talked about the synchronized clocks, and the secret, knowing the secret, as you saw, you can find the current time, right? So knowing the secret means you can get the one-time password from that algorithm, right? So we have to be careful with with sharing the secret. So how to enable TOTP? I can show here actually with the one I already had. So I have a sysadmin user, so administrator. And well, we can get to the place where we enable TOTP in two ways. Either through this options, so in the sign-in dialog, or we can go to the application properties and go to security and then options. And we have a new tab there, the TOTP tab, in addition to what was there previously. And this is where we enable TOTP, and we define a few properties for TOTP. one thing we need to know is once we enable TOTP, all the users will have to use that. Okay? If you don't want a certain user to use TOTP or be challenged with the OTP, then you have to exempt those users. Now, to exempt a user, you have to have access to the user's account, basically. This dialog here, it's for the general settings of OTP in the application, not for individual users. But what you can do here is exempt a certain workstation from challenging with OTP. So enabling TOTP, everybody will be challenged on every workstation. You don't want the users to be challenged on a certain workstation, then you list the workstation and the TOTP exempted workstations in this dialog. Now, you want a specific user not to be challenged by an OTP, then you have to exempt the user in their own account, and I'll show where that is. And that user won't be challenged by an OTP on any workstation. Okay? We have also these couple configurations. The TOTP issuer label, this is more of a convenience to show the user in the authentication app. Let's say you have multiple ones for Amazon, for Hotmail, something like that, or multiple actually VTScada applications, or multiple user accounts that you have with the VTScada, then this is a convenience, and it will become clearer once I show you later what it means. But the issuer label, basically, it tells you where this secret, or where does this OTP apply in your Authenticator app. The TOTP tolerance window, I mentioned earlier that TOTP is calculated over intervals of time. It's not like I grab the current time exactly and I create that secret or the combined secret. No, it's over a period of time, and the common one is 30 seconds. So within this period, 30 seconds, if I calculate the OTP within this period, I will get the same exact OTP. Of course, using the same secret and the same time interval. Okay? So the tolerance is, we will accept, as VTScada, if we have something like this, plus or minus 1, it means we will accept the OTP that gets provided by the user, and if it matches our current OTP, or the previous OTP, or the future OTP. Okay? And this allows for what? Issues with the clock sync. Okay? And also it gives the user a little bit of time, if they want to type, etc. There are a couple hidden configurations, and those are the number of digits that you have to provide for OTP, because most of the hash algorithms, they produce really large numbers. But 6 seems to be good enough to lower the probability of, what they call it, collisions of the hash results. What else? We have the 30 seconds interval. This seems to be common to all authenticators. I think Glenn experimented with them. They don't accept something else. Even if you pass that, it's gonna stick with the 30 seconds. So we just kept those configurations hidden. No need to change them. We'll play with the exemption just in a bit. Okay. So we have a system admin that can create users and then specify whether they're exempt or not. So this sysadmin, for example, I can create a new user to just say A, and if I want this user not to be challenged by the TOTP, I just go and say exemption. Okay? So user A will not be challenged by an OTP on any workstation. This list below the exempt, this will be a list of the authenticators that are registered for that specific user. So let's try and see how things work out for a user that was just created and that has not registered with the TOTP. So in other words, they did not register any authenticators yet. And they're not exempt. So I have a user here that was already created. And that's user U, just to remember it's unregistered. So this user is basically trying to sign in for the first time after they were listed as having to be challenged with an OTP. So what you get, up to here, again, this is the regular VTScada. After enabling the OTP, this is what they will see. So you have two-factor authentication. You will be challenged by two-factor authentication. So prepare your app. By the way, guys, probably you can get the QR if you want to try that with me, if you want to test. So you get your authenticator app ready, and once you're comfortable, actually, before that, you gotta give a nickname for the authenticator. And the reason is, you remember that list of authenticators I showed under the OTP exemption? A user is allowed to register multiple authenticators. I don't know, maybe on their workstation they have an authenticator. If they go somewhere else, they have access to a certain phone. In another place, they have access to a different phone, which is possible because that's what happened to be like coming to the States. I have 2 different phones with different authenticators on them. Anyway, so once we're done with this, just list a nickname. I'm gonna say this is Google Authenticator on my iPhone, just to remember, and this is my first authenticator to be registered. Once done, this is actually the main step in registering. What you see here, of course, the QR code, but what does the QR code carry? It carries the secret plus some metadata that is just for convenience. So you can scan the QR code, of course, if your authenticator is on a phone with a working camera, and it allows this basically. If you can't scan the QR code that carries the secret, then you can just type the secret. So all those digits and letters, this is the secret encoded in base 32. Okay, and we need to know that this secret is produced once. So every time there is a new challenge, whether it's for the same user or for a different user, then you will get a completely different secret. It's randomly generated. And you have 30 seconds to register, but I think we increased this just to give time. So I'm gonna scan with my phone the QR code. Oops. And I got a second one. It's hard for you to see, but I have registered here. Once done, just click this. And after registration, you're immediately challenged by an OTP. So if you fail to do a successful registration and you cannot enter the correct OTP here, the whole process of registration fails. So that secret is discarded and gone forever. Okay, so I'll enter here. Oh, I missed it, so it's gone. I have to repeat the process. Yeah. So what you have to do actually, because this here is useless basically, what you have to do is just go delete it because it's not going to work anywhere else. So again, edit. It was you and GGL1. Just okay. Add scan QR code and got this 966500. By the way, anybody who scanned it should get the exact same 6 digits. Anybody scanned the last one? No? Okay. I saw things wrong then. Yeah, again, this is another failure. Sorry, guys. So, oh. Okay. So 009373. Did I type that correctly? Okay, and now I'm signed in. I think I typed the previous one wrong. Okay, let's sign out and then sign in again. Actually, I'm gonna sign with the sysadmin just to show you what happened for that user's account. So sysadmin. And if we go to the user account now, that specific user that got just registered, that's the GGL1. That's my nickname for this authenticator. Okay. You can see I have the ability also to register another one. Again, I might need different ones having like different machines. So since we are here, I'm gonna try to register another one. I'll be using the same authenticator, but I can use either one later if I'm gonna sign in, and I'll demonstrate that. So I'm gonna call this GGL2 now. And add a new one. And this one is nicer actually than the other one. It shows the time you still have left. And this is 328. Okay, and we have registered a second authenticator. And apply. Okay, now let's go back and see how user U can sign in. Now we see a drop list saying which authenticator you want to use. We have both options, so let's go with the previous one. So GGL1, it's 837-205. Okay, and we've signed in. If I don't want this user to be challenged, I can go and just uncheck the TOTP, check the TOTP exemption.
So Samar, just to try to clarify, the reason why you'd have two different authenticators or two different devices, the idea is that you may be using your cell phone all the time, and that would be the most common case. You'd only have one nickname, one device, one authenticator. But if in the case where you have two different cell phones, maybe you have your authenticator installed on your personal cell phone and another one installed on your work cell phone, or maybe you have a tablet and a phone, that's where you'd have two different ones. So each device would get a separate name and a separate code that will come up. And it's only once when you set up that individual device do you have to scan that QR code. It's not every time you log in, so it's a one-time thing that you set up.
Yeah, the QR code and that secret next to the QR code is simply just sharing the secret and once. After that, it disappears. Once you share it with the Authenticator app, that's it, it's gone. We encrypt it, so no one has access to it. And if your Authenticator app also does that, then nobody will see that secret anymore. It's gone. But later, like Glenn said, the challenge would be with the OTP, the one-time password. The QR code, again, is not a challenge. It's just allowing you to register with the Authenticator. Registering means simply sharing the key. Okay? And also, the QR code carries a little bit more metadata, and probably this would be explained better using just graphics. So the QR code, actually, it's simply encoding the bottom part, that OTP auth. This is a URI that is agreed upon as a URI to share the secret code. Now, the secret code is simply that secret equal KN whatever. That's the 32 base 32 encryption of the secret key. But the metadata I'm talking about is the VTScada _ plant controls. This is what we call the issuer. And this helps us, what gets done with this? The Authenticator takes this URI and would register that specific, or would label that specific registration with that issuer. So you would see on your phone VTScada plant controls, and then the user, in my case, the username is R. So you would see that. Let's say you have multiple accounts or multiple even applications, VTScada applications with different user names, then you would set your issuer to be, say, VTScada, the name of the application, and then the username is automatically inserted in the URI. So you don't have to do anything about the user. This way you differentiate all those registrations in your Authenticator app. The other stuff you see here is the algorithm. You notice the algorithm, SHA-1. That's the hashing algorithm, digits 6 and the period 30. Again, all those three except for, all of those three are the hidden configuration we told you about. Because even if you change them, the Authenticator would ignore them and use whatever, or they consider these as the only settings that they deal with. And yes, sorry, I have a screenshot of the Authenticator. So that URI string translated into that registration. The secret you're not gonna see, but you will see the label of the registration as VTScada plant controls R. And this is how you differentiate in that long list of your Authenticator registrations. Let's try also some exemptions. So the user you remember was challenged by OTP. Let's exempt this workstation now and see what happens. So we go to the options, what you call administrative settings. So again, if I want to exempt the workstation, it means this is for all users, not just one user, right? So that's why you go to administrative settings, not to the accounts to access a single account. So here I'm going to add this machine. And by the way, automatically the workstation drop-down list is populated by whatever servers your application is aware of. And usually these are the servers you have listed in the server list, or you attempted to insert in the servers list. If it's not there, then you can just type it. So here I could add my second machine, and then, so it could be handy if you have listed certain workstations earlier, but if you don't have anything in that list, you just type the name of the workstation to exempt. So now I have my machine exempted from TOTP, so no user should be challenged by any OTP. So let's try user U again, and they logged in. No OTP challenge. Okay.
Now, the point of exempting a workstation is that you may have a situation where you want to make sure that at some time, if everything else fails, you can log on to that particular workstation, and that particular computer may be located in a secure control room. So you say, I want to go in, when everything else fails, I go to that machine, it's in a locked room, I can log on there, and I don't need the two-factor authentication to get in there, and I can get things done.
So the second factor would be you getting into the room. That's authentication.
Yeah, a locked door is a second factor.
Yeah. I think we covered everything. Anything you remember, Glenn, we should cover?
Well, I'd just like to cover off the why we're choosing this TOTP, or the time-based one-time password, versus email. Don't want to stand in front of the speaker, that's a bad idea. Why we're using that rather than email, SMS messages, or other common things. First go to is say, why don't we just choose an SMS message like a lot of sites use to give you the second factor of authentication, because that would be an easy thing to implement. Everybody gets their text message, types in their number, and everything is good. But we're considering that what we're doing here is critical infrastructure. If there's a storm, a disaster, cell phone towers are down, you can't get a text message. You can't log into your computers. That's a disaster in itself. The plant is running, but you can't deliver water. The plant's running because you have a generator. That's bad. So we need to have something that doesn't require a network connection, doesn't require cell phone power. Everything just works. That's the TOTP solution. It works. The only weakness it has is that the clock on the computer needs to match the clock on your phone. And that's pretty easy to do, except if you have an air-gapped system at the plant, you're not actually connected to the internet on the computer normally. The computers will keep the time for days without drifting too much. But if you never connect to the internet to keep your clock in sync on your OT network, you need to have some other device. And I bought one to bring with me, and it's in my room. It's a Phoenix Contact GPS signal you mount outside the building. Is a time-based server for an air-gapped system if you want to use it. It's a $500 device that will allow you to keep your system clocks in an air-gapped system synchronized to millisecond accuracy so that your cell phone clocks in your OT or your operational computer clocks are precisely synchronized. And this plus or minus, you can be out by as much as 30 seconds or more and still be okay with your clocks. So that's the background why this TOTP style.
So yeah, you don't need the internet for TOTP. This is the important thing.
Questions?
Hang on. This is where I get all my exercise. I'll be doing sit-ups and all this other stuff later. Well, here we go. All right.
Thanks, sir.
I was wondering if you're giving any thought to having the two-factor authentication be able to turn off during work shift hours, 8 to 5, while the plants are actually occupied, and have it turn on after hours for on-call personnel?
We did not take that into consideration. I can take note.
The idea is that you can exempt a workstation. So if you're physically at a workstation that is secure, you can exempt that workstation from required two-factor authentication. So the primary use for two-factor authentication is to keep bad guys out. Bad guys are on the internet. So it's the internet connections that you're mostly concerned with. So if you have any outside internet connections coming in from the thin clients, from home users, those are the ones you want to keep secure 24/7.
So with the exceptions on your server list, if you have multiple servers and say on one server you have an exception, but on the other server you don't, and you're load sharing or using some form of that, does it require MFA through all thin clients, or is that disable? Is the disable for the MFA challenge only for the server?
For the server, yes.
So presumably it doesn't matter what workstation you're logging into on the thin client, it will always require MFA?
It will challenge you with the OTP if you connect it to a server that is not exempt and your username or your user is to be challenged. Yeah. So if it switches to a backup server, the thin client switches to a backup server that is exempt, then they won't be challenged.
Okay, so if you have a primary and a secondary, and say on your primary you're exempt, and it switches to the secondary, then you'll be challenged?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, but not during the session. If you logged in already, that's it. But I mean, if you log out and you go to the second server, say for some reason, say load balancing, they will be challenged. We haven't finalized this anyway. We were talking about it. The thin client we did not demonstrate because it's not done yet. So we're still looking at different ways to do this. But so far, yes, this is how it is. It depends on the server that the thin client tries to log in through, basically.
What if you have a combination of domain accounts through WSI and locals for on-site folks?
With the WSI, we still apply the OTP actually. Yeah. So you will be challenged by OTP after the WSI login.
So if we have WSI for our thin client servers with OpenID Connect, and those accounts flow through to the locals, that's why we have local accounts for that local access without the OIDC MFA. So could we use a TOTP for on-site MFA and OIDC for thin client anywhere access?
Again, thin client, it's not finalized. Yeah. So I can't answer now actually with a solid answer. One thing, probably it's worth mentioning, if there's no questions. There you go.
I understand why you did TOTP here to begin with. Do you see also pursuing push as well? It's down the road? No?
Yeah, we could. Yeah. We have weaknesses of if it lost your infrastructure.
I understand. Yeah. Like I say, you need the backup of TOTP. Yep.
A good practice, we think, is to have at least one account that is exempt. So good practice to start with, let's say, an admin And once you enable TOTP, within the same step, just go and disable or exempt that user from TOTP. And you're able to, actually, I can demo that just in a second. So this is a non-secure application. The very first user, probably just say admin and just make it super user. Or manager would have been enough, but just to make sure I could get to the options. So, very first login. Oops. Oh, it was admin. Oh, this is. I did already enable, I'm sorry guys, I thought it just a fresh, yeah, it was enabled and then I deleted the user, sorry. But basically, after the first login, there's no TOTP. So when you go and enable TOTP in that application, within that same step, before you sign out, just go to the options and exempt yourself. You don't want to be locked out, right? Well, if you have your phone and you have the authenticator, basically you can just go through the steps of registering. But just to be on the safe side, exempt yourself.
I have a question on when you were about ready to sign in there with your and set up the TOTP. Is there any way to copy the code out into so where they might not have a phone or camera on their system, where they may have to copy it into their system?
Good question. We considered a copy button. Then we considered like just putting that into the clipboard automatically. Again, not final decision on that. But most of the time, your authenticator is not going to be on the computer anyway. So probably it's good just to copy it to the clipboard. And yeah, if you're fast enough to pass everything through like email and something and get it to your phone, then that would work. Yeah.
More questions? Anything else? All right, sounds good. Well, remember to, I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Thanks. Is it possible to make an exemption with a time setting so you don't have to remember to turn off or unexempt somebody if Larry from Integrator XYZ is in the plant and just for that day?
Currently, no, but I don't know if that is to consider.
Typically, I think if you want that integrator off, generally disable the account entirely, not just the TOTP part.
And one thing, Graham, the other developer who worked with us, is like, if you have too many exemptions, you better not use the OTP. Say you have one user that you want to challenge with OTP, you're picking on that user. So, yeah. All right.
Anybody else? Did somebody? No? Okay. All right. Well, sounds good. Well, remember to put some feedback out there as well. So really appreciate everybody attending here. And all this, let's give a big hand for Samer and for Glenn.
Thank you.